Hello. Um, Before I start this video, um, I didn't watch the first presidential debate, but I listened to it on the radio. I was in my car driving to somewhere. I went to a store to buy something, and on the way home, I was listening to the presidential debate on the radio in my car when I was driving home, and it was a disaster. It was a mess. I mean, it was it was insane. It was all over the place. I mean, it's because of one of the presidential candidates. Well, the president, Donald Trump. Um, he was interrupting Joe Biden. You know, he was interrupting him. Won't let the man speak. Um, he was basically acting like a child, a spoiled little 2-year old. And he was. And he was. Yeah, that debate was like going into one of the bizarre governor's race here in Texas. That presidential debate was going into that territory, and I remember watching one of the Texas governors debate. One of them was really bizarre, and it was bizarre and weird. But it wasn't like it was. Well, it was. Yeah, it was similar to that disastrous presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And I'm looking at Joe Biden and Donald Trump like, these guys. If one of them become president, one of these guys aren't going to do anything. Both of them aren't for universal health care. Both of them are not for the Green New Deal or the New Deal. One of them are not for legalizing marijuana. One of them are not for like raising taxes on millionaires and billionaires and huge multinational corporations. Like, none of these guys aren't for not for all of this. Period. I mean, just like Kyle Kalinske from Secular Talk would say. There's not a Democratic Party and there's not a Republican Party. You got two Republican parties. You got the regular Republican Party, and you have the Diet Republican Party. You know, and why is he talking like this? Because there's no social democrats in this country. Period. Just people like AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Nina Turner, and that's about it. So that that presidential debate was just all over the place, and it was. Okay, enough of that. Let me get off of that, and in this video, I'm gonna read about something about why Americans are paranoid and why come they're the way they are. Okay. And I found an article online from Norman Chomsky, and it's titled "Why Americans Are Paranoid About Everything, Including Zombies." Well, everybody in America are a bunch of zombies, and I see it. I see it in my sister. I see it in my father. And I see it in people who are like them. Okay, let me go read this and let me give my thoughts on that. I'm also going to be reading something else that's related to this. The following is a transcript of a part of an interview Norman Chomsky recently did with a group of students via Skype. Towards the end, a student asked the Chomsky and critics the quirky question why zombie figures are so prominently in American popular culture. He replied with a brilliant analysis of the history of fear in America. Question: this might sound kind of random, but I would really like to ask your option of why you think there's a preoccupation with the apocalypse and with zombies right now in our culture. Norman Chomsky: I've never seen a real study, but my guess is that it's a reflection of fear and description. It's a very frightened country. It's a very frightened country. The United States is an unusually frightened country. And in such circumstances, people conclude either for escape or maybe out of relief, fear that terrible things happen. Actually, the fear of the United States is a pretty interesting cultural phenomenon. It actually goes back to the colonies. There are some good studies out there. A very interesting book by the literary critic Bruce Franklin. It's called War Stars. You might want to take a look. You might want to take a look at it. It's a study of popular literature, the kind of literature that most people read from the earliest days to the present. When it gets to the present, it switches to television. Things like that. Just kind of popular culture. There are a couple of themes that run through it that are pretty striking. For one thing, one major theme in popular literature is that we are about to face destruction from some terrible, awesome enemy. And at the least minute, we are saved by a superhero or a super weapon, or in recent year, high school kids going to the hills to chase away the Russians. Things like that. That's one theme that runs through constantly. And there's a sub theme. It runs out this enemy, this horrible enemy that's about to destroy us is somebody we're crushing. So you go back to the earlier years, the terrible enemy was the Indians, who were going to destroy us. The colonists were, of course, invaders. They were invading the continent. Wherever you think about the Indians, they were defending our own territory. There's a scene in the Declaration of Independence. People read it every July the 4th, but not many people pay attention to what they're reading. Yeah, those hardcore American patriots. It's kind of like a prayer book. You move on somewhere else. But if you read it and pay attention, there are some pretty remarkable passages. So one passage is a list of bills of incensement against King George III of England explaining why the colonies were revolting. One of them is he unleashed against us the merciless Indian savages who known way of warfare is torture and destruction, and so on. Well, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote that and is a very great thinker of the entitlement, knew perfectly well that it was the mercilessly Indian it was the merciless English savages whose known way of warfare was destruction and murder, and were taking over the country and driving out or exterminating the natives. But it switched in the Declaration of Independence, and nobody comments on it for years. That's another sign of the same concern. After that, it became the slaves. There was going to be a slave revolt, a terrible slave revolt, and the slave population, the black population, was going to rise up and kill all the men, rape all the women, destroy the country, something like that. It becomes modern times. Hispanic narco traffickers are going to come in and destroy the society. One thing after another. And these are real fears. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about the Hispanic narco traffickers or something like that. Yeah, America has a legal immigration problem. People from Mexico and Latin America are legally coming into this country. They don't care about the culture of this country, and they don't want to, and some of them don't want to learn how to speak English. I mean, they want the people here, English speakers, Americans, to communicate with them by speaking Spanish, and these people don't want to learn English by communicating with people who speak English, but they want the people here to learn Spanish and communicate with them. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's like this. I mean, they can be bilingual in English and Spanish, and learn English and speak to people in English who speak English, and speak to each other in Spanish. And if they want, they can teach people. They can teach English speakers here Spanish. But yeah, and so that's what I want to add to this. Okay, and going back to the former British white colonists viewing the black the black population, it's the slave population, look at them as people who are gonna kill all the men, rape all the women, destroy the country. I think that's why some white people in America are racist towards black people and people who aren't white. So yeah. Okay. That's a lot of what lies behind the extremely unusual let me start over. That's a lot of what lies between the extremely unusual gun culture in the United States. It's quite unique. Homicides, death by guns in the United States are way outside. There's a kind of hysteria about having guns. A large part of the population believes they just have to have them for protection, for protection, to protect themselves. From who? from the United Nations or from the federal government, from aliens, maybe from zombies, whoever it is, we just have to have guns to protect ourselves. That's not known elsewhere in the world. Maybe in say Syria, a country that's warning you that's warning you might that's warning you might find something like that. But in a country that's not only at peace but has an unusual security and a great degree of freedom, that's quite remarkable. I suspect that what you're bringing up is part of that. I think it's much of it is kind of just a recognition at some level of the psychic that if you've got your boot on someone's neck, there's something wrong, and that the people you're oppressing may rise up and defend themselves, and then you're in trouble. In another strange properties, the country has always had a fear of invading in a fear of inviting dangers. There is a kind of paranoid streak in the culture that's pretty unusual. Okay. Okay, I'm going to be reading about why are Americans so paranoid about almost everything. Okay. We are constantly put in fear of things that turn out to be nothing. A few years ago, they shut down roads because of an unknown substance on the road. We were supposed to get a bit of ice. It turns out to be mysterious substance was salt. We are bombarded with doom and gloom. No one is competent. Communication between authorities is poor. We can't trust our politicians to do the right thing. Our politics have been nothing but scare tactics. My 6-year-old went through a active shooter drill. Well, not really. See the SWAT team through it would be fun to scare the living daylights out of small children, like rolling a fake grenade into the classroom, telling them they had to get down forcibly with kids crying. They also won't announce these drills. They are random. Our local high school had this same drill where they kept the kids in the classroom for a couple of hours, and when my niece asked to use the toilet, they threw her on the ground physically and called her a bitch. This is not teaching the kids safety. It's playing enemy combatants on kids. It's scaring them. It's belittling them. It's made them think death, destruction, terrorism is coming to a pokey little town in the middle of nowhere. This is what feeds our paranoia. Same as the 24-hour news cycle that shows missing kids, and parents are terrified of letting their kids have a normal childhood. The U.S. news shows segments like death in our grocery stores, or some mom on the news terrified because a stranger waved hi to her kid and happened to be in the same grocery aisle as them. U.S. is making life toxic for its citizens and particularly every aspect of life. Um, yeah, let's see. Yeah, yeah. Let me comment on what I just read. Yeah, the fear and the paranoia here in America went back to the 13 British colonies on the east coast of North America. Yeah, the fear of Native Americans and all that. You know, in the unusual gun culture came from that. You know, we got to have guns to protect us. Yeah, yeah, I saw that. I saw that on some comments that had back and forth on the video about on a YouTube channel. Yeah, on a video titled comparison between American police and British police, and I had a back and forth with a crazy, paranoid, delusional asshole named Crusader Wolf, and this guy embodies the paranoia and the craziness and the fear here in America. You know, um, yeah, and this guy was crazy. I mean, he wasn't like I say he wasn't down to earth. He you know, he just wasn't sane. He wasn't civil. I mean, he was like Donald Trump in that disastrous presidential debate against Joe Biden. That's what he was like. You know, and I fear that, and I feel that that debate should be civil. You know, it should be like one person talks, and when that person gets done talking, then the other starts to talk. I mean, and the moderator should have control over this, and the moderator like was a pushover in that disastrous debate. I mean, yeah, um, yeah. Going back to Crusader Wolf, I mean, this guy was just crazy. He was all over the place. I mean, one of my subscribers told me like this guy is crazy. This guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I mean, he was talking about full freedom and guns are needed. And the police are given the guns because the guns are needed, and the American police shouldn't be acting like the British police. And I disagree with you of America staying on as the 13 British colonies on the east coast of North America, and if we were like this, I mean, we wouldn't have full freedom, and we wouldn't have freedom, and you should respect the Constitution more, and you're stroking your ego in this comment, and people who want, and Americans who want to leave America and go overseas, that's up to them. I mean, this guy was insane. I mean, I saw, I mean, my dad forced me to see a bunch of mental health professions back in 2018 because my sister, who was loaded up on way too many medications and pills, was acting crazy, and she drove me to go crazy, and my sister was running around calling me crazy, and my dad forced me into seeing a bunch of mental health professions. because I'm disabled and he has control over my money in my bank account, my finances and everything, forced me to see all these mental health professions. I mean, and guys like Crusader Wolf. I mean, my dad is like Crusader Wolf as well, and so is my sister. They both boast and talk about freedom in America and freedom. We're free, and if we were like Britain, we in those other countries, we won't have freedom. And my sister talked about, oh, we were glad to get away from those bastards in the United Kingdom because women couldn't own property, and if the man dies, the son gets everything in the property in the home, and the woman doesn't get anything. And we're glad we don't have that here in America. Yeah, and women here in America get everything because the court system is biased, is racist, and is sexist. And and yeah, and in a divorce court, the woman always win, and she gets the children, the man's money, everything the man owns, his assets, everything the man has, and the man comes out having absolutely nothing, zero, zitch, donut. He has nothing at all. Yeah, and and women in America like my sister love that, and they do. Yeah, and yeah, and yeah. Also here in America, like people are so antisocial, paranoid of strangers, stiff, robotic. I mean, and yeah, and fearful of others, and antisocial, and don't want to talk to people, and just be in the clique, you know. And I saw this on Facebook. I mean, it was this girl who I went to this shitty school with. I mean, her name was Nikki, and yeah, and Nikki, yeah, she, yeah, I went to school with her. I remember when I first met her. I mean, she was very open. She wanted to talk to me. I was kind of shy and I was scared of her. And I did something to her that wasn't right at all. And on Facebook, when I was talking to her on Facebook, she claimed that she didn't have a crush on me. She had a crush on one guy. She had a crush on another guy, and all this crap. And she liked bad boys. And I remember I took some pictures from her Facebook page to make a video about why Americans are antisocial and cliquish. I guess she saw those pictures. I told her I had a YouTube channel. She went and shut down her Facebook page. Then she opened up a new Facebook page, and she had it where you cannot add her as a friend due to the fact that she's paranoid. And I remember I had a back and forth with a guy who I went to another school with, Akira O'Kara. I don't remember his name. He's a guy that I had a back and forth with. He told me to check my tone when I lost it. When he told me about the topic, what about this video that I want him to watch on my Facebook page. And he talked about after I called him out for being what he is, being fake and plastic and blind about how America is. He talked about I'm not gonna watch a 45-minute video that I assume of you ranting and raving like you did on the message that I sent to you on my Facebook page. I mean, if you like, you can send a brief summary if you want, and please leave me alone. And when I defended myself, said, well, I wasn't like that. I'm being a nice person. I'm just telling my truth. And then he accused me of having feelings for him and being obsessed with what he did to me in high school, which I clearly told him that that I'm not worried about what you did to me in high school. Or, well, I didn't go to high school with him. I went to junior high with him, and I was defending myself and telling him that I wasn't worried about what you did to me. What you did to me in junior high. I mean, I told him that's water under the bridge, and he thinks I have an obsession with that. That just shows you how crazy people are. And by the way, I tried to talk to him on my Facebook page. He blocked me. He blocked me. And there's another person who I went to school with. I mean, I'm not gonna say her name. Is a woman, a Cherokee Indian. For some reason, she gets all fearful because she doesn't want me to say her name on a Facebook video, fearing that she thinks that I'm going to she thinking that I don't know an identity someone who's an identity theft crook is going to take her name and use her name for identity theft purposes. I mean, yeah, and I said her name twice in some videos, and she got all scared about it. And she told, "Oh, I get all fearful. I don't want you to say my full name. I don't like that, and I'm so fearful because it gives me the heebie-jeebies and something like that." Then the second time I used her name in a Facebook video, she said this to me: "I don't appreciate you saying my name in a video, and you say you don't care, and I don't appreciate that." How someone who gonna do identity theft on you, gonna steal your identity by taking your name in a Facebook video? They just can't get your name. They got to get your name and your address. That's how they're gonna steal your identity. They're not gonna steal your identity through your name. I mean, my God, I mean, it just shows you just how paranoid and crazy American society is. My God, I mean, I see this in my dad. I see this in my sister. I mean, and I try to talk to them like for like everyday things. Like they push me to the side. I mean, my sister snaps at me for something that I was talking to her about. Just something innocent, something that's not bad or anything. She goes and snaps at me for no reason at all, due to the fact that she acts weird and crazy. I mean, she hides like things from me. She thinks I'm gonna drink up all her high fructose sugary sodas that'll make anybody gain weight and be fat and be out of shape and mess up their health. It's just laughable, really. Like, and there's a bunch of apples and stuff on the table, like fruits and vegetables, that she won't touch, that I eat, and she will never eat. And she's overweight as fuck. Fat and overweight and out there. My dad's a fatty as well. Yeah, and another thing, like Americans are just so cliquish. You can't talk to people in this country unless you're part of a clique. It's crazy. I mean, everybody's so defensive, paranoid, fearful of others, antisocial, cliquish, in a box, undereducated, violent, too violent, crazy, out there, incredibly stupid. You name it. I mean, and this was interesting. I mean, I remember I went out yesterday. I got out of the crazy household, the house that I live in. I went for a drive, You know, I went to this store. I went to this store to buy some poker cards. I remember this, like, on the night of the disastrous presidential debate. I remember I went to this store. I was looking around for poker cards and see where the poker cards were at, and some young guy, came and asked, saw me and said this to me. There's anything you want to find, sir? I said, yeah, I'm looking for some poker cards. He said, yeah, follow me. So I followed him around. It was crazy. He stopped and zipped around and went somewhere else. I tried to keep up with him, you know, and he went and showed me these poker cards, right? And he showed me different poker cards. He said, this deck is something something dollars, and this deck is something something dollars. And I said, thank you, and he said, you're welcome. He was just like stiff and robotic. Then I went to the checkout counter, and this black girl who's at the checkout counter, like, she was loose and friendly. She said, hi, hello. And I said, I'm doing okay. And I paid for my poker cards and I left. Then I remember I went to this other store and bought some other deck of poker cards, and I was standing in line, and I was standing in front of this old lady. This old lady turned to me and said this, how you doing today, young man? And I said, I'm doing fine. And yeah, and after that I went for a drive, got on the freeway and drove on the freeway, and exit off of the freeway onto this picnic area or roadside park. And I went and sat at these picnic tables and start playing with these poker cards. So yeah, this one of them. Yeah. After that, I left and I decided to go to my parents' house. To visit my parents. To see how my dad is. I see how my dad is. He's just paranoid, crazy, delusional, out of touch, and just out there of how things are in America. And he believes that healthcare in America shouldn't be free, public, and universal like other countries, like the UK. He believes that if you don't have money, he believes you have to pay for it. He believes that if you can't afford it, that you can't get it. So he's thinking that, like, everything, say, healthcare and everything else shouldn't be free. You should pay for it. But I believe that you shouldn't be paying for healthcare at all. You shouldn't be paying a dime, seeing a doctor, or going to the emergency room, or going to see an ambulance, or getting into an ambulance and paying for an ambulance ride to the hospital. You shouldn't be paying a dime. It should just come out of your taxes, and you should, like, choose your own doctor. Oh, anyway, I went to my parents' house. They weren't there, so after that I decided to drive to the DMV. The I live in Texas, and the DMV is known as the Texas Department of Public Safety. Um, it's like this. The DMV is known as the Driver's License Office. and you got the Texas Highway Patrol precinct station. You got a room you go in to file a crash or accident report of a car accident that you had, that you were involved in a highway patrolman was investigating the accident. So you just get the report from him and file the report there. So okay, I remember I went in. I stopped there. Well, I just went there to use the bathroom. Okay, I went there to use the bathroom. I had my mask on. And I went in. I went in and went to the bathroom. I know where the bathroom was, because I went there because of where I live. I went in the bathroom, went there, used the bathroom, washed my hands, tied my shoes. When I came out and got ready to leave, I saw these plaques on the wall of all these dead highway patrolmen, just pictures of them. And above the plaque, it said above all the pictures of the highway patrolmen, it had a plaque that's in front that's above all the pictures saying this: "No greater love." So I looked at this and I looked at this trophy case. I saw this Bobby Award that was presented to that Texas Highway Patrol Texas DPS district office. This for the state troopers, really. It was an award presented to a police officer in Sussex, England. A quote unquote on it said, from Her Majesty's police. Okay, I was looking at this. I was looking at everything else, and this woman, a Mexican woman, which was a Texas DPS district office DMV staff member. She was behind a petition, and she was wearing her mask. And when people were coming in, and she was asking them, "Do you have an appointment?" And people were telling them like what they were there for and what they need there. And when she saw me looking at the plaques and looking at the pictures of the dead highway patrolmen in the trophy case, she asked me this: "What's your name, sir?" And I said, "My name is Richard Miles." And she said, "Are you here for an appointment?" An appointment, because I know how these people work here. Like I know how those people work there. They won't never tell you a thing. If I ask her what's an appointment, if I ask her that, she will never tell me. She'll be tight-lipped about it, and she'll probably just ask me, "Are you here for an appointment? What are you here for?" That's what she probably will say to me. But when she asked me, "Are you here for an appointment?" Because I know what an appointment means, and they always say this: appointment, meaning that you're there for to renew your professional motor vehicle license, or to get or to get one if you move from another state. This is here in Texas. And when I told her what I was here for, I said, "Well, I just came here to use the bathroom." And when I got done using the bathroom, I came out and I went and saw all of this. I was telling her the pictures of the dead state troopers and in the trophy case. I just stopped to see all of this. I said, "Oh, well, but before I leave, I just stopped to see all of this, really." And she just stood there and didn't say a word. She just got quiet and didn't say nothing. And then she decided to say this: "So you're not here for an appointment?" I said, "No, I'm not." Then after that, she just went back to doing what she was doing. She was just so stiff and robotic. And people started coming in. People were saying, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. Like it was just so weird, really. Like everybody was just so stiff and robotic. Everybody was talking to each other like drill sergeants in the military. It was weird. Then after that, I got out. I mean, before I arrived there at the Texas Department of Public Safety district office, I mean, my dad called me on my smartphone, and he asked me this. Richard, they don't have Coke Zero. There's any type of soda that you want. I mean, and I was telling him about like my stance on drinking soda. I couldn't tell my dad that well, he was like buying stuff for me at the grocery store with my food stamps. I mean, um I was telling I mean I was trying to tell my dad something about my situation on drinking soda, and he wouldn't let me. I mean, he was like interrupting me, like kind of like what Donald Trump was doing to Joe Biden. And I was telling him that I'm not much of a soda drinker, and I don't drink those sugary sodas with high fructose corn syrup in it. I'll drink Coke Zero, or I'll drink Perrier, and also I drink a lot of water. That's what I drink. I mean, but I don't drink soda all the time. Like every once in a while, because I was gaining a lot of weight. And I was trying to exercise and try to eat right and drink less sugary drinks. That's what I was trying to say to him, and he wouldn't let me say that. He just want me just to say one little thing like I want this, I want that, and just say little things and won't give an explanation on something. I mean, that's what is. I mean, and I go through this here in Texas. I mean, and that's why like people in Texas are so like quiet chicken shit. They don't think for themselves, and they don't speak much, and they are incredibly stupid. So yeah, I mean, I hung up on my dad like one or two, three times because he wouldn't let me speak. He called me on my smartphone. Yeah, while I was on my way to the Texas DPS district office to use the bathroom, because I was just driving around, getting out of my crazy household. And yeah, I went to my relative's house, my grandmother's house, and there was nobody home because a lot of people there were kind of crazy and weird. A lot of them won't visit me, and I won't visit them. And it's kind of weird. I mean, one of my cousins died. I mean, it's a woman, and she was in her 40s, and she was acting like a 20-year-old, and she was a mother with children, and I believe she should act her age. And she died, and my sister didn't say nothing to me about it. I mean, I saw the pamphlet of her funeral service on the table, and I looked at it, and I saw my name on it because I didn't attend the funeral, and I didn't know anything about it. And people in the family, people on my father's side of the family, don't like to tell each other anything, and it's kind of weird. I mean, I don't like any of those people anyway. And why should I go to a funeral of a person who I never talked to, who I never met? I mean, it's like this. Like going to a funeral of someone going to a funeral of a family member who died, who never visits you, you never visit them, and and they never like they never visit. Yeah, they never visit you. You never visit them. You don't. You weren't close to that person. I mean, you never met. You never talked to that person. You never got to know that person. Nothing. I mean, at all. And you just go to their funeral, and they go to your funeral if you die, and grieve with your family because they have the same last name as you. And after the funeral, you never hear from them ever again, and they never visit you. That I find that kind of weird. Yeah, and these people, they're crazy. I remember like at a funeral of a family member who died. They start fighting with each other at their funeral and getting into the coffin of the dead body. It was crazy. Yeah, like one family member kicked one family member out on the side of the highway on a freeway. Let him out on the freeway and drove away, leaving him on the freeway. And one family member came to my house, put a flower pot on the doorstep, ring the doorbell. I was at home. I opened up the door. I saw the flower pot, and that family member was a woman, was my aunt. Got into her car, told me that that was for someone, and drove off. That's crazy. And it is. Yeah, no. You know, just, they're just people on my father's side of the family. Those people are crazy and weird, and I think they have mental issues. Well, anyway, okay, I left my grandmother's house, and I drove. There was nobody home, so I drove all the way to a rest area along the highway, and I went there to walk around. And, I was alone. Because everybody, there's no one to talk to. Everybody's paranoid and of each other. I remember going to this rest area, and I was looking at this overlook, this outlook mountain of a view of a valley and a mountain. And a family of a woman and a bunch of girls come walking by. They didn't see me and didn't want to talk to me, didn't say hi to me or nothing. I just didn't exist. And they were a nice family. I didn't matter. I didn't exist. I was a ghost. you know. And I want to say this, I remember, here in Texas. I remember yeah, my dad was a police officer. I was on a transport with him. He was transporting criminals who escaped from some jail here in Texas, escaped from Texas for a warrant or a crime they committed. They went to another state, went to another state. My dad drove to this state like Arkansas and picked up a criminal and took him back to Texas. And I noticed this criminal was talking to my father. And when he got out of the car, he wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't say a word to me. He acted like I didn't exist. Now I was in the car with him. Like I just didn't exist. I didn't say anything to me either because, I was brainwashed on being paranoid and being antisocial and everything. It's funny, I went to school, there was this teacher who was so hardcore on people talking to each other and shaking hands with each other and giving eye contact to people. It's funny. And those same, in the students who I went to school with, they all grown up, they're all married, and they have children, and they're so antisocial on Facebook. How ironic. You know, how ironic, really. You know, I remember my dad wanted me to go out and talk to people and meet people. He doesn't do that shit anymore. He doesn't care about that anymore. He's so fearful and paranoid of everybody now. You know, and I lied to my dad. I told my dad I got a speeding ticket from a police officer. I lied to him. He said, "You got one? How much is it?" I said $100. He said, "How fast you were going?" 120. You see this? "Oh, they're gonna lock you up. They're gonna throw you in prison. They're gonna impound your car. Well, go ahead and pay it." Well, I don't have access to my bank account and a checkbook. You do. You won't teach me these things because I have a learning disability. I can't remember things. You're doing everything for me. Remember? You say I'm on my own. Like, no, you're gonna help me do this because I don't know how to use a checkbook. Yeah, my dad just old and out of touch, really. Well, anyway, at this rest area, I remember in this rest area. I mean, this was yesterday. Um, yeah, I was walking around and I saw this semi, this 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 semi truck start pulling in. It was a white semi truck pulling a white trailer. It pulled in, and I walked past it on the sidewalk, and I saw the trucker. It was a black guy, and I walked past it. Then I turned around and walked by. I mean, the door to this truck open, and this black guy steps out of the semi, and I listened to his accent. He said, "Ooh, man, that's a long fucking ride." He said, "Yeah, I'm from Manitoba. I'm from Canada." And when he said that to when he said that to me, I said, You're from Canada?" It's a real, really. I mean, I've been to Canada. He said, you have?" I said, "Yeah, I've been to Victoria, British Columbia." And he said, "Oh, British Columbia, British Columbia. Oh, BC. Oh, yeah. I've never been there." And he told me he was a Canadian trucker from Britain because I heard his accent. He said I heard his accent. I said, you're British. I mean, when I heard you talk, like you sound like you're from Jamaica." And he said, "Yeah, yeah, my family, me and my family, we're Jamaican." And I told him I went to the UK, and I said, "Yeah, when I went there, like, yeah, well, I noticed like people were driving on the wrong side of the road. I mean, it kind of scared me, but a little bit, but I got used to it." And he started laughing, and me and him, we had a conversation. He talked about, oh, he liked America and how big America was. He was a nice guy. Like he just he just went and started talking to me. We just talked to each other just out of the blue. I mean, he wasn't fearful of me or anything. He wasn't antisocial. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't stiff, robotic, or nothing. I mean, I was talking to a black Brit who was a trucker from Manitoba, Canada. He was a nice guy. Then when I left, he said, "Hey, take care, brother." Then I ran into him again. He said, "Hey," I said, "Hey, take care. Hey, take care, brother." He said, "Take care." I think that's what he says. Yeah. I said, "Yeah, yeah, you do the same." Yeah, no, I'm saying to myself, man, like, I mean, and yeah, yeah, and there's a guy who subbed to my channel by the name of Martel the Cool, and he was kind of like that guy. I mean, and I say to myself, man, I mean, why come people in America aren't like this? Why come people? I mean, why come black people aren't like this? why come people in America like this? And also that Black Brit said he liked America because there was a lot of black people here. I didn't tell him about how the black people were. And I can compare him. I can compare him. He's one of the black Brits from Britain. I can compare him with black people in America. And this is from Winston Wu. I mean, I know it's like African Americans here are so so how can I say this? I mean, they're so they're so they're on edge. I mean, they have a inferiority complex because they dealt with so much racism from racist white people. In the black Brits, I mean they're sane, they're calm, they're civil. I mean, and they don't have a inferiority complex like the black people, the African Americans here in America have. I mean, the black Brits are nothing like the African Americans here at all. I mean that black trucker that I talked to, that black Brit trucker from Manitoba, Canada, was so civil. I mean, he was sane, civil, he was happy, he felt good about himself. I mean, he wasn't acting weird and crazy. He wasn't antisocial, he wasn't cliquish. I mean, he wasn't mean spirited, he wasn't insane. I mean, and he didn't go around talking about freedom and full freedom and the Constitution and all of this and all this crap. And it just shows that I can click well with people like outside of the U.S. and Canada. you know I didn't talk to him about the Canadian people. The Canadian people are ice cold, antisocial, passive aggressive, and they're like they're like the watered down version of people in America. I didn't talk to him about them. Yeah. You know, you know, you know. Yeah, but and there's a guy who I'm friends with who's an American. I mean, he's from Tennessee. His name is Brandon Middleton. He went by the username of Captain Brandon Horror Lover. I mean, he changes his username a lot, so I'm just gonna call him Captain Brandon Horror Lover. Um, yeah, and he talked about how North America is, and how shitty it is. Like he talked about, oh, North America is super super shitty, and he's right. Like he said, Americans are back. He said North Americans are backwards. They're weird. They're crazy. They're mean spirited. And yeah, and Americans like have an obsession with guns and fearing that and thinking that guns are needed for protection against other people. And why I say this, you know, yeah, and I see the fearness, like okay, like in the women, like I know it's in other foreign countries, like the women are not defensive, paranoid, picky, and and toxic, and you know they'll just come up to you like and talk to you. You come up to them, they won't be fearful of you or nothing. The women here are so fearful, paranoid, mean spirited, toxic. They have they have horrible attitudes. You know, and that's why you have a lot of single men in America. I mean, there's more single men in America than single women. in countries overseas, like it's in reverse. I mean, there's more single women than single men. It's basically backwards over there. Um, that's why due to how the women are here in America, that's why a lot of men here are lonely. It was a very culture shock experience. Being around being around that black Brit trucker from Manitoba, Canada, and being around like toxic, insane, loop-sided, cliquish, paranoid, angry, bitter people here in America. Here in America, people like will put you down, will rip you apart. And I dealt with a lot of gaslighting with people like Crusader Wolf and one of the people who I went to school with on Facebook. And my dad and my dad in general and my mom, who give me a lot of gaslighting to make me feel bad about myself, make me feel angry and bitter and lose it all the time because of how they are. Because of how they are. And I'm not gonna say all people in America are like this. There's some down to earth people here in America, but there's less of them. And they're like, finding them is like finding a needle in a haystack. So yeah, and then you got people here in the States who hate people, who don't want to be around people, who don't want to talk to people. And it's insane. Like, and those type of people are people like Brock Lesnar, the WWE wrestler and a former UFC fighter. This guy, people like him, he's wealthy and he can do that. He can hate people. He don't want to be around people, and he don't want to interact with people. He can get away with that, but people like me, if I do what he does, my dad will see this and force me to see a bunch of mental health professions, clinical psychologists, and I was prescribed to take a lot of pills to make me feel better, and these pills that were prescribed by these mental health professions that I see under my father at this hospital back in 2018, the summer of 2018. They were gonna make me like, these pills were gonna make me feel all drowsy, non-responsive, gonna sleep all the time and not make me function well and just destroy my health. That's what these pills are going to make me do. My dad feels that if I take these pills, they're going to make me, quote unquote, help me cope with my problems. They're not going to do any of that. They're going to make me feel drowsy. They're going to make me feel unresponsive. They're going to make me sleep all the time. Yeah. They're going to do damage to me. They're not going to make me feel better. They're not going to make me act normal. And it just shows just how zombified and brain dead people like my dad are here in America. I'm just gonna say this: America just has an anti just have poor communication skills. And and there was this guy on this video that I ran across of on YouTube. He was talking the way these people that the founder of Happier Abroad, Winston Wu, was talking about. What he was talking about? He was talking about people in America are antisocial and cliquish, and he agreed with everything Winston Wu was saying. He said that people are into social media too much, and he said something that was very revealing. He talked about due to the antisocialness and cliquishness, he said that high school had failed on teaching kids, students in high school, how to communicate and how to talk to each other. Yeah, show feelings towards one another, and help each other out, and and create good, strong, long-lasting friendships all the way out of high school and into adulthood. Yeah, and he's right on that. And the high school that I went to, with the people who I went to school with, I mean, that school failed me in them, and they have, in on communicating with people. But yeah, due to the feeling of how America is, being fearful of others, having a gun for protection, and viewing everything and everybody as a threat. It's just crazy, and that's what's wrong with this country, you know. You know, I say, you know, looking at that disastrous presidential debate, that just shows, just how uncivilized people in America are. I'm just gonna say it out front. That just shows how uncivilized people are. And Canada is no better. I mean, Canada is just like the U.S. I mean, in every way a little bit. You know. I saw one of the people who did a how can I say this, did a reaction to the disastrous presidential debate that had Joe Biden going against Donald Trump. Um there was this guy named David Dole. He was this host of this show called The Rational National, and I just saw like just how I kind of agree with him on how on what on how Donald Trump is. He pulled out what Donald Trump said about getting rid of the ACA and replacing it with another healthcare system, and David Dole said this: "You have no fucking plan. For 4 years, you have nothing. I mean, you're a lying piece of shit. You don't have no plan." And I agree with him on everything, but I took a look at how this guy act. Like, he was like so like um he was very antisocial. He was very like, I say he was like ice cold, passive aggressive, you know. And I see this, and I bet you $100 if I ran into him on the streets of Toronto or Victoria or Vancouver in Canada, talk to him. I bet he'll just ignore me and just walk off. You know. So yeah, Canada is basically America 2.0, and a Canadian who watches my videos told me this, that Canada was the USA 2.0, and I saw this from a comment from a Canadian. Like, one was trolling me and said that I need to go outside and enjoy life. I was telling him, like, I agree with him on what he was saying, about like Europe and America and all countries have flaws, and they're not perfect. And he went and trolled me and made me out ass like I'm obsessed with something, and said it's been 2 years, laugh out loud and go out and enjoy life. And another Canadian said this to me. Get to the point. Nobody doesn't want to see your stupid little car. It was from a video about 56 reasons why Canada sucks. And I showed my car off in the video. I should have done that. I'm a car person. I like cars. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, if there's some people out there who don't like cars, they're not interested in cars. Hey, I mean, I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad. I'm okay with it. I mean, there's some things that I don't like, but I'm not gonna go around and just put someone down. It just seems to me, I thought Canada was gonna be different from the U.S., but seeing how those people are, I was wrong. I was wrong. Yeah, the United States is a very toxic, unfriendly, antisocial, paranoid, cliquish, mean-spirited, violent, too violent, undereducated, over-policed, right-wing, conservative, capitalist society of a country. I mean, the toxicness from toxic people here is just over the top. It would just bring out the worst in you with a lot of gaslighting and all that toxicness from the toxic people here in America trigger and create mass shooters. Yeah, that go around, that lose it and grab a gun and go around shoot and kill people, turn a gun on themselves and shoot and kill them, and worse, get shot and killed by police. And there's this talk about the left wing and Black Lives Matters wants to defund the police. Again, I'm not for defunding the police. I'm not for that. I mean, I'm for improving the police. Like pulling out like bad police who just go and shoot unarmed black people for no reason at all, killing them. Yeah. Just make laws that can catch like bad police in the act. But about the police, inside the law enforcement community, police officers don't care about one another. And they don't. I mean, some do, some don't. The ones who don't care, like, they're cliquish and they're in cliques. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a police officer or not. These cops don't want to talk to you. Period. And they don't talk to each other unless you're part of their clique. If you're part of their clique, you can talk to them. If you're not part of their clique, they'll ignore you and push you away. And these police officers don't care about one another. They just step on each other's feet, toes, and faces just to write out the most traffic tickets and do the most arrests just to get a promotion. And it's funny. When I went to that Texas DPS district office, I went there. I saw those pictures of all these dead state troopers with a plaque over it saying that no greater love, And I look at this. I mean, I'm gonna say to myself, there's no love. I mean, and after my brother's funeral, my brother was a police officer. He got killed in a car accident. And at this cemetery where my brother's body was being buried, this woman, who was the wife of a Texas Highway Patrol trooper, she went and shook the hands of my mother and ran her mouth about how great the DPS is, and the DPS went through the same thing that your son went through. When I went to shake the woman's hand, the woman turned around and walked away. Didn't want to have anything to do with me. Yeah, and she had this stiff, this lifeless look on her face, this zombified look on her face. Yeah, and it's like this here in Texas. Like the people will talk to one person and they'll ignore the other. And I have a crazy neighbor who live across the street from me. Like, he's so paranoid of everything, and he's crazy. I try to talk to him about some. He won't let me speak. I mean, he was like Donald Trump in that disastrous presidential debate. You know, I could say like one or two words with this guy. He was so paranoid. He was just some old guy in his 40s with a big fat pot belly, beer belly, and he had a morbidly obese fat ass wife, and he had children. I mean, his entire family were a bunch of crazy hillbillies, and he wore. I don't like any of them anyway. And he got this idea that that he saw all these nice cars parked. He saw that one of these nice cars parked in front of my house, and thinking that I was a drug dealer. I'm a drug dealer. Yeah, I'm a drug dealer. Yeah. And I remember I came back on vacation with my mother, my sister, and my father from going overseas to Northern Europe. Yeah, we got on a cruise ship in in the UK, in the city called Southampton, and sailed the countries like Belgium, Norway, Germany, and France. Yeah, after coming back here, we went to unpack. Me and my sister came back here and went to unpacked our things, and we heard a ring. We heard a doorbell ring. We looked out the window. It was a police officer. And my sister went to open the door, and I went to the door with my sister. My sister opened the door and said this and the police officer, yeah, we heard that. We heard that. We saw that. We heard that there was nobody in the house or anything. If there's anything all right. I said, yeah, everything was all right. And come to find out, my paranoid, crazy neighbor from across the street thought something bad happened to us. And he went and called the police. This guy was just so petrified, chicken shit, crazily paranoid and scared. And also, he was a nutcase. I mean, he would let me speak. I mean, it's hard to speak to the guy. You couldn't speak to him in a sentence or anything. And he spoke to my father just fine. And my dad was just as paranoid and crazy as he was. Yeah, yeah, and going back to the police and inside the law enforcement community in the community, there's no love among police officers unless they're dead. But when they're alive, there's no love among police officers. I mean, the police officers in the law enforcement community among one another, they're cliquish, they're in cliques, they don't care about one another, not all of them. And they'll step on each other's toes, and faces just to write out the most traffic tickets and arrest the most people just to get a promotion. Yeah, I mean, and that plaque about there's no greater love in that Texas DPS district office is just a lie. It's just basically just a just a I mean just a kiss ass fest for the love of the Texas Highway Patrol branch of the Texas Department of Public Safety here in Texas. That's all it is. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, at all, you know. And I believe this should be, this should be love among everybody here in America, including police officers. Police officers showing love for non-police officers, everybody. But you know that doesn't exist because you know there's too much paranoia, toxicness, angriness, antisocialness, craziness, gaslighting, insanity, and just stupidity here in this country. I want to talk about this. Um, I remember this show on NBC. It was titled Dateline: To Catch a Predator. And the host of that show was Chris Hansen. Okay, okay, I remember the first episode. There was this guy who got online and wanted to meet a little boy. Found he wanted to meet a little boy, a 12-year-old boy, at a McDonald's. Okay. He heads to McDonald's. Instead of finding the 12-year-old boy he wanted to meet, he runs into Chris Hansen and a confrontation begins. Like the guy was all fearful, said, "Oh, I just want to go to McDonald's. I just want to get something to eat." And that's what he's saying. I don't remember what Chris Hansen was saying to him. Then then the show became the way it is. A sting house was created. The police was waiting outside, hiding. A decoy, which is a woman posing as a teenage boy or a teenage girl or a child, and this thing called perverted justice. Okay, these pedophiles who are lured into this house from an online chat from the decoy, they get pulled into the sting house from the decoy. Then they see the decoy goes away, and Chris Hansen comes in and confronts them on why they're here and why they're doing this, and he reads the transcripts of everything that they say. Okay. After this, he goes out. The pedophile goes outside. He gets nailed by the police. And this goes on every episode of Dateline: To Catch a Predator. Yeah. I remember Danny Deutsch, whatever his name is. He interviewed a father and his daughter. They were both from Texas. The father was some fat ass, angry white man with a gun. He was so bitter. He had a fucking gun. And he said he was gonna shoot this guy for going after his daughter. His daughter was a teenager, by the way. And I'm looking at this guy. This guy was just I don't know. He just sat there like he had this angry look on his face, like he was better than everybody, like he was king of the world or some shit. And he was talking about things like, "I won't kill that guy. They sick. AJ sick. I'm gonna blow his goddamn head off with this gun if he go near my daughter. I had a gun on me. I had a gun on me. I'm gonna blow this man's head off because he tried to go after my daughter." And yeah, that's how he was acting. Really, he just had this angry look on his face, like no, yeah,
like no cracking of the smile face. Like he was just like serious, and he was. Um, yeah, and also I remember I was watching this short segment on France 24 English on YouTube. It was about like prostitution in Los Angeles, California. Okay, yeah, 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 yeah. The Los Angeles police or the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, they were like setting up like stings at motels to nail um people having sex with underage female prostitutes. Prostitution is a problem. Like and yeah, and I saw something like that just made me just feel like sick inside. Just feel like just just empty and sad inside. Like during this sting at this motel, some old guy comes in. Like he wanted to come in to have sex with underage to have sex with underage prostitutes. He was coming in. He was an old guy, fat old guy with a big fat pop beer belly. He had a big fat pop beer belly, and he comes in. He gets caught by the police, and he was saying this. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Then the police said, no, it's okay. It's okay. You're okay. You're okay. I won't arrest you. You're under arrest. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. That's what they were saying. You know, before I talk about all of this, I'm gonna talk about Chris Hansen. Chris Hansen is nothing more than a worthless, dirty piece of shit. I mean, this guy collects transcripts of pedophiles that say all these dirty, disgusting things to the decoys online. He keeps these transcripts as mementos, as souvenirs. And he also cheated on his wife with a 30-year-old woman. And this guy, okay, and it's like this. These pedophiles, like some of these guys, yeah, they're the mostly, they're scumbags, but some of them who do this, they're alone, because it's hard to find a woman their age. Yeah, I'm gonna say that, like, some of the pedophiles do it because they're alone, and they want love and female companionship, and they can't get that from the women here in America because the women here are picky, selfish, toxic, unfriendly. They look at these guys like, ooh, ew, get the hell away from me. And they can't find they can't find female companionship and love from a woman, you know, because of how the women here are in America. And that's why that's why they end up on Dateline to Catch a Predator. And that's why they end up as like old guys wanna do it with a prostitute regardless of age. You got these pedophiles who just sick in the head, who are really perverts, and they're just doing it for kicks because they're sick. I mean, yeah, and the ones who are lonely, who are in this thing, want to find love from a woman. Like, they get into this, because society is so messed up, and guys like Chris Hansen don't see this, don't see why these guys do what they do. But Chris Hansen, just like people like him in America, they view the ones who are lonely, who want a woman and they can't get one because of how women are here in America. They 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 lump them all together with the sick in the head pedophiles, and just put them together with them and say that, oh, they're a bunch of sick perverts. They're dangerous. They're sick. They're sick. And and how messed up American women are, and yeah, and they also are responsible for these lonely single men to go on mass shootings. You know, the case with Elliot Rogers, yeah, guys like him. But you know, but people like my dad here in America, they just view them as criminal masterminds, terrorists, and they're crazy. You know, that just shows just how just that just shows how messed up American society is. So I'm just gonna say this. Fuck Canada, fuck the United States, and overseas all the way. I'm not going nowhere near those tyrannical dictatorship countries. Well, that's all I gotta say in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.